What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Broadway Joel, the voice of Dominican Box, and today I have a special guest, Sena Agbeko. This is a very interesting guy. A lot of people call David Morrell the boogeyman at 168, but my man right here is very, very willing to go fight David Morrell. And although we will get to that, we will get to you and David Morrell, the potential fight between you guys. I wanted to first get your story, your background as to who you are and where you come from. So, you're originally from Accra, Ghana, correct?
Yes, I'm from Accra, Ghana. That's where I started boxing, and um, I started boxing in 2009. That was when I had my first amateur fight, and then I
Mm-hmm.
went on into the national team. My goal initially was to go to the Olympics, but then Ghana politics and whatnot, so I decided to go pro back in 2011. And then after racking up 15 wins, all by knockout, I couldn't really find any more opponents who were willing to fight me. So I had to, come over to the US. And it's been a topsy-turvy, like journey here in the US. But last year, I really started got a rhythm going on, which like culminated in me winning, Showtime, a Showbox card main event, which of course I got with less than 2 weeks notice, but I got the job done, which it's pretty much put me in good position. I also won the WBC USA Super Middleweight belt just before that particular fight, so that got me ranked in the WBC. And then, of course, the WB also had me in the rankings at number nine. So it's been a long journey, from Ghana to get here. Um, it's been very, very difficult to get ahead because I'm generally considered as an unknown. But the thing is, I've been on the ground. I've been to a lot of gyms. Even I've worked with Morrell's, not to jump to Morrell, but I've worked with his coach, Ronnie Shields. At one point, he was supposed to be my coach, but it just so happened at the time, I was dealing with some work authorization issues, so I wasn't able to fight with him as my coach. Otherwise, he would have been my coach. So it's just been a very topsy turvy journey, but I feel like I've arrived, and I just need a chance. That's all. Like I've never heard of anybody having this much trouble just getting in front of people. So I'm like, hey, what's it? Why doesn't anybody want to give me a shot? Like I've proven myself and I'm ready. So just put me in front of the fans. Let the fans see the options that are available to them and let them make their decision. Yeah.
I, and we'll get to your current career and the trouble you're having getting fights and all that. I kind of wanted to start off with your childhood. How was your
Oh
childhood
yeah.
growing up in Ghana? What did your parents do for a living? Were you a bully in the streets of Accra, Ghana,
Oh,
or
that's
were you a
that's
good
pretty
kid, church
interesting.
kid? You
I
know.
mean, I was a good kid, but I was also one of those kids who was all like into school, like up until high school, my primary focus was just my education. And if you ask my classmates from middle school, and then initial high school, they'll all tell you they thought, I'd go into like maybe something like medicine or law, and that's what they always thought. But then, something happened along the way, and I felt like I needed something else, something more challenging. And all my life, I actually was never like the kid who got into fights. I would always argue my way out of situations. I had friends who would defend me if anything happened, but eventually when I went to high school, that's where everything changed because I went to boarding school and I was away for like 3 months at a time. And for me, I had never been away from home up until that point. So it was traumatic for me that I was away from home. And to cope with that, I started working out a lot. So I started playing all kinds of sport, basketball. I ran track, played some field events as well. Um, and then when I finished high school, going on to university, back in Ghana, there's no college sports. So I had to figure out something else to do. So I was like, hey, it was either going to be soccer or boxing. And back home, soccer is like there are a lot of really good guys, and it's hard to make it out. So I was like, hey, boxing's an individual sport. Let me pursue that and see how far it takes me. So yeah, so my childhood was like it was mostly just learning and studying. And my parents, just wanted me to like, go to school, finish, get a good job, settle down. Like most Africans will tell you the same thing. Their parents want you to do the same thing. I'm sure, in the Hispanic cultures too, a lot is the same because there are a lot of similarities between the African and Hispanic culture. So I didn't think I'd be a boxer. I didn't think I'd be trying to be a world champion. If somebody had told me that when I was young, I would have gone like, you're crazy. But hey, life has interesting ways of surprising us all the time. So yeah.
What were your parents' reaction? You know, you were this kid who was so focused on his studies, who people thought he may be a lawyer, maybe a doctor, and all of a sudden you go to your parents and go, "Hey, you know what? Forget the doctor, forget the lawyer. I'm gonna go box. I'm gonna go fight for a living." What was their reaction?
I mean, my parents always, they never truly voiced their disapproval. They just stayed silent and watched. But I guess the way they showed their disapproval was that they never showed up for not one of my amateur fights or not one of my pro fights. So I had over 69 amateur fights in Ghana, and they never showed up for not one of them. And after I went pro, I had 15 wins, 15 KOs. And what's insane about that is on usually when the fights would be held on Saturdays, on the following Monday we have all these sport networks that would cover the event, and then it would be telecast on national TV and they would see this, but they still didn't care. And I guess that's how this is how they felt, but they did not physically do anything to prevent me from boxing. I will say though that when I was younger, I tried judo. I had done judo just before I started boxing, and while I was doing judo, that they actually took my gi and they burnt all of it. They were like, "Nope, you're not learning judo.
Wow.
You're not gonna do this." So they burnt my gi, and so when I started boxing, I knew not to bring anything home. So I left all my gloves, everything at the gym, and I'd always go there. So, but I would say that they were really good people, and they gave me a really good foundation with everything that I did, and I know that especially now, my I grew up with my aunt, and she's always been very supportive, and she's always been like, Sena, you're capable of doing so much more. Why do you want to just focus on boxing? But lately, she's been like, boxing is based on time. You're still very young, and you can do so much more after boxing. So just pursue your boxing, see how far you can take it, and then when you can't physically do it anymore, then maybe you can explore all the other options that I want you to explore. So at this moment in time, I feel like they've they're not so like passive anymore, and they really want to support me and make sure that I'm successful in the sport. Yeah.
When did you learn English, man? Your English is perfect. Or did you grow up speaking English in Ghana
Of
too?
course, I grew up speaking English. English is
All right.
the official language in Ghana. So
Oh, I
yeah.
didn't
So
know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I mean, at one point, even in school, you would be punished if you spoke vernacular, like any of the local languages in Ghana. If you spoke it in school, you'd be whooped. You had to speak English when you were in school.
Okay,
So
okay, that
you
makes
can
sense.
imagine
I'm
how
like, wow,
that,
this
yeah.
guy. I'm like, wow, this guy's English is so perfect. I'm like, when did you
Well, thank
learn?
you, appreciate it.
But
Yeah,
no, no,
I
all
came here
right,
when I was 21, so and I had finished college, so I knew plenty English by then.
all right, all right, all right. So you came to America and you've had already quite a few fights here.
Hmm.
Um, you did suffer two losses.
Yes.
Uh,
One of them I would say questionable. So, my first loss was my only real loss. It was my first fight here in the US. Of course, I came to the US and played 15-0, 15 KOs. And then I was, immediately put into this boxing tournament. At the time, of course, I didn't know it, but I was not ready. And the stage, was bigger than anything that I could have expected. And I think that, I even talked to the guy who I lost to, my first fight, Raymond Gatika. I talked to him about a year after the loss. And he was like, yeah, I hit him harder than anyone that's ever hit him. And he truly felt that, the only reason why I lost was because, I was very anxious and the stage was bigger than, I expected. And at the time, I hadn't dealt with anything of the sort. So it kind of like awoken something in me where like I took my time, I moved to Vegas. I studied a lot of the coaches. I studied under one of the coaches, but also watched a lot of the other coaches and learned from things that they told their fighters. So I took maybe a 3 year break after that to really craft and learn the sport, and especially how it is here in America. And I can say that once I started back fighting in 2017, I pretty much won all the fights except the other loss, which if you look online, you'll never find that fight anywhere. I fought Vladimir Shishkin, who's from Russia, and I fought him, during the COVID, at the tail end of the COVID. And if you look at all his fights, you'll find most of his fights, if not all of them, on YouTube, except the fight with me. Why is that fight not online? There's a reason why it's not online. It went the distance, yes. I wasn't able to knock him out, but he had a really bad cut from a punch, and in the I believe it was the third round, which the referee, really, really they should have stopped the fight. But he did well to hang in there because he's world class. He's also really good. So he was able to manage it. And it was ridiculous that two of the judges gave him all the rounds when even on the telecast they didn't show any highlights of him. Like there were literally no highlights to show of him landing shots on me. All the highlights they showed were of me, and he was the A side. So I'm like, okay, but so that's the other loss. But my goal from this point on is to make sure that I don't lose. And after that loss in the boxing tournament, the goal has just been, just to train, train, train until I become world champion. And yeah,
No,
go on.
okay, I'm sorry. Oh no.
No,
So
that's
when you said you had moved to Las Vegas, when you moved to Las Vegas, who were you training with there for your 3 year
uh,
stint?
well, I was no, I wasn't there all of the 3 years. I was there only for a year. But while I was there, I trained with Rafael Ramos.
Okay.
So he's Puerto Rican. He's Puerto Rican, and I trained with him, and I studied under him for a long time. He taught me a lot of great things. I was actually employed his services for the fight that was going to happen against Morrell. He was going to be the head coach. Even though I have my coaches here, I felt like his expertise would be, very useful in an event like that, like a world championship. So,
Hmm.
but unfortunately, of course, it didn't happen. So I had to come back to Nashville, and I've been back here training with my coaches as well. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. So you have a fight coming up, but you haven't fought in a year since your
Well,
last fight.
close to a year. Yeah.
Yeah, close to a year. It'll be close to a year by the time you have your
It'll be a
fight.
week, exactly 1 week from
Yes.
a year. Yes.
Uh, so talk to me why you haven't been in the ring since then. Usually people fight 2, 3 times a year.
Well, the thing is, when you don't have a major promoter behind you, the way a lot of people think that boxing just happens where people just matches are made, promoters put fights together, and then you get called. No, it's like you either have to have a manager who's paying somebody to fight you, or you're signed to a major promotion and the promotion is taking
Mhm.
care of everything. And in my case, I don't have a major promotion behind me. I just have a manager. So I was supposed to have fought Morale in April, which would have pretty much made me active. But of course, we'll get into that when the time comes. But that didn't happen. So I was recently in Canada for about 5 weeks for a training camp. And while I was there, I called my manager and I was like, "Hey, I don't want the whole year to go by without, being,
In the ring,
active."
yeah.
So I'm like, "Yes." So I'm like, "Let's put something together." So he quickly, called, he found a promotion, and then he called them and then was like, "Hey, let's since no
Oops.
let's let's pay somebody who might want to fight me." And obviously, if nobody wants to fight you, there's a reason. And so these other guys who want to fight you, they're asking for a steep price, and it's not easy. So, but he made it happen. So we have this guy from Colombia, no, from Argentina. I mean, he's a solid fighter. I've seen some of his work, and I mean, I don't take anybody for granted. Boxing is boxing. He has two hands, I have two hands. Anybody can knock you out on a good day. So I'm preparing for it like it's a world championship. I'm getting ready for it. It's going to be in Sioux City, Iowa, and I just want to win and stay active, and just keep my presence there, so people don't think that I'm not active. I'm inactive. I don't want that. Yeah.
Uh, um. All right. So we could talk about David Morrell now. So you guys were
Yes.
supposed to fight in April, and the
Yes.
fight didn't happen. Well, what occurred there?
So, it's very interesting that they I talked to I did well I didn't talk to the guy who eventually became my replacement,
Yeah.
Yamaguchi. I found out later that he had signed a contract to fight Morale 40 days before I even signed my contract. And I'm like, why would you sign a replacement for a fight that you haven't even had the main guy sign the contract for? So apparently he had signed the contract, and I found out from very reliable sources that they had actually flown him from Brazil, and he was out in Florida. So I'm like, it feels like the whole thing was a setup. You understand? The whole thing was a setup, and they knew what they wanted to do. And I don't think Morel, is a fighter who's scared to fight anybody. He's young, he's rash. He's been, in top amateur events, so he probably is ready to face anybody. Just like I am ready to face anybody in the super middleweight division. But I think it's the way his handlers and managing things. So they had me sign the contract to fight him, and it was pretty interesting. I don't know where they may have gotten the information or things from, but I think that they also sensed that I was training very hard for this fight. I was actually had moved my entire camp. Me, my wife, my coaches, my two coaches were out in Las Vegas, and we were mostly training in the mountains, Mount Charleston. Like high elevation, 7,000 to 10,000 feet, and we're really getting ready. And then we had some people who came through camp, who were watching sparring. And although I didn't really like it, I was okay with it because they were part of, the people putting things together. And I think that, there was a lot of word getting around because even like Benavides of all people got word, and he texted me, and we're supposed to eventually work together, but nothing has come up since, I ended up like, coming back to Nashville, leaving Las Vegas. But that tells you that, and he's in Arizona, so that tells you that word got around very quickly. And then I guess, I can't prove it, but at least I've been able to prove that the MRI, the radiologist who incorrectly reported he incorrectly reported my MRI results because I did another one by an independent body that showed that there's nothing wrong with my mind, that I'm 100% okay. Another thing that makes the whole thing suspicious about the commission refusing to grant me my license to fight Morel because of a, in quote, failed MRI scan is that I had time to get a second opinion from a qualified neurosurgeon. Now, this guy looks at brain scans every day. He's been doing this for over 30 years. And then, so when I got there, this guy even felt like I was wasting his time. He looks at the scan, he's like, hey, I don't see what the radiologist says he saw. And this guy's more qualified than the guy who made the initial report. And he's like, I don't see it. But even if he says he saw that 1 millimeter brain aneurysm, it's okay. Like, it's not been known to rupture from punches or from trauma. So you can go ahead with the fight. So this was the second opinion that the commission wanted. And immediately I presented that second opinion to the commission. But then they were like, no, we're still moving ahead with another opponent. It's over, you're out. And just like that, I had no recourse. There was nothing I could do. So I come back to Nashville, and then I do my own scan, and then I present the report to them, which is like a week after the fight had already happened. And then they were like, "Oh, okay, 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 all right, okay. We see now that you're okay. So here's your license. Take your license." So as of now, I am licensed. I have my license to fight in Nevada, but no fight. Isn't that
Well,
crazy?
it is, especially since you said that you brought it to them and they said no, we're not gonna approve you, and then only until after the fight they approve you, just to
Exactly,
assure themselves that you were well, uh, according to you, assure themselves that you weren't going to be in the ring with Morel. Well,
exactly.
Morel doesn't have a fight now. He's not scheduled to fight anybody. I know
Uh-huh.
you have a fight coming up in a month or so,
Yes.
uh, which I'm sure if he doesn't get a fight announced from now to then, Would you be interested in a quick turnaround?
Absolutely, absolutely. When he was on Twitter, when he was on Instagram and Twitter, blasting David Benavides, calling him chicken, calling him puta, whatever, for not fighting him, I was on him too. I was like, hey, let's make it happen. Like the commission said, could wouldn't give him a license because of so and so reason, right? And right now, that reason is no longer in the way. That reason has been cleared. So what prevents you from fighting me? At this point, it's like I'm a stain on his, like, on his reputation. Like he needs to like address that stain. You understand? And it feels like there are people who are not like who don't want that to happen. And as soon as I started like hounding him because he was hounding Benavides, he kept quiet. He went quiet. He stopped hounding Benavides because he knew that as long as he kept hounding Benavides, I would keep hounding him. So I have clearly shown my intent. And don't like I'm not saying that fighting Morrell is an automatic win. No, Morrell's a young, hungry fighter, and I acknowledge that. I respect that, but I just want the opportunity. That's all. Like, give me the opportunity. Like, give other people, to prove myself. That's all.
Why do you want Morel so bad? Why not, Edgar Berlanga, Jaime
I don't, I don't, I
Munguia,
don't, I don't want Morrell so bad. I don't want Morrell so bad. I just want any other guys there to fight me. The reason why the issue with Morrell is has become I wouldn't say it's become personal, but the thing is they cost me a lot of money, a lot of resources, a lot of my time. You understand? They really dislodged a lot of things in my life because I had to move to Vegas for that camp. A lot of money was spent, a lot of extra money was spent for that camp, and all that led to nothing. And I feel like there was a malicious intent because think about it. If I hadn't done my own MRI scan, I would spend the rest of my life thinking that I had a problem with my head and that my career was essentially over. You understand? So it's almost like these people had an agenda against me. Now, mind you, before that, I had been calling out Caleb Plant, and Caleb Plant has never. I've been calling him out for the last 2 or 3 years, and he's never ever once responded. Now, in the past, they used to say that, "Oh, what have you done? Who have you fought? You haven't done anything." And I went on ahead and won, my belts. I got ranked and everything. And he still hasn't said anything. The last time I won my fight on Showtime, I called him out. Now, mind you, Caleb Plant is also managed by the same guy, Luz Cuba Jr., who manages Morrell. You understand? And I've called Caleb out, and now all of a sudden they offer me the fight against Morrell, and then they pull this stent on me. So I feel like there's a connection, And Caleb, me and him have history. He knows what it's like to be in the ring with me. So he knows very well, and that's why he's also stayed quiet. So I don't care who it is I get the opportunity against. I just need to be in front of a fighter on TV in front of the fans and let the fans make their decision after the fact.
What happened when you and Caleb was in the ring together? What happened?
Me and Caleb sparred from his second pro fight to his 15th pro fight for all of his fights until he moved to go to Las Vegas. So we
Okay.
have a lot of rounds between me and him. At one point, me and him had the same coach, Justin Gamber, and we sparred. We were not. I wasn't his sparring partner like he tries to put out there. We were gym mates. We were under the same coach, right? So we sparred every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and we helped. I can easily say, yeah, I helped him get ready for his fight, but no, he's a good fighter too. So sparring him also helped me stay accountable and helped me develop my skills. But long story short, as things got better for him, I believe him and his coach connived to throw me under the bus because I had lots of opportunities to sign with people in Las Vegas, to work with people in Las Vegas, to work with Juan Blake, who is very closely related to Mayweather and whatnot. But these guys discouraged me from doing anything with anybody because, in their own words, they were going to help me with ways to connect with Al Heyman through Luz Cuba and whatnot. And when it came time for them to do that, they let me hanging. They let me dry. So I feel like they also like because they felt like I'd be a threat to Caleb. They basically tried to sabotage my career. We're like, okay, I had a fight coming up 2 weeks, and then the coach was like, hey, I don't think we should work together anymore. And I hadn't done anything wrong. You understand? So I felt like he was trying to sabotage me. And since then, that has been the case. But that is an issue that, I don't take personally. I've endured a lot of hardship, and I just want a fair shot, a chance. Not to say that this is like it's easy or it'll be easy when it happens, because I know nothing's easy. These guys, there are a lot of theories that I have about what they do, how they train and whatnot, but I'm not gonna bring that up. You understand? The most important thing is I still want a shot at them, and I don't care if it's Morale, I don't care if it's Caleb, I don't care if it's Berlanga. The thing is that the two people that I have mentioned so far, that's Caleb and then also Morale. These are two people that I've had to deal with, say on a personal, Caleb more on a personal level. Morale, I mean, we were slated to fight, and then they pulled that stunt on me. So you can understand my frustration with these two guys. I don't have a reason to like, go screaming after Berlanga or go screaming after Benavides or go screaming after which others, after Canelo. I know I'm very realistic, and I know that you can only be in that conversation if you have a major belt.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
honestly, I feel like a more realistic fight would be Edgar Berlanga
yeah,
because
exactly. I've thought about that. And one reporter was telling me that he has a fight in December. I mean, he may have a date in December. And I was like, well, great. That's perfect. I'll fight in October. And,
hit up
once I
Eddie
pull through
Hearn.
that,
You don't got a
well,
contact to Eddie Hearn?
so I don't have a contact with Eddie Hearn, but I've had somebody reach out to fight Malanga when he was with Top Rank, and then at the time they told me they had plans for him. They had different plans for him, but right now I know that the super middleweight elite, it's slowly narrowing down. They can only fight so many people, so hopefully now they'll look at me, and then hopefully they'll offer the fight. And like I said, I'm more than ready to take the fight. And sometimes, they try to lowball you because they're like, oh yeah, this guy wants it, and whatnot. Just give me the opportunity regardless, and let's go.
I, I'm currently looking at the top 15 for all the four sanctioning bodies, and you're
Uh
not
huh.
any of the any ranked in any of the sanctioning
So
bodies.
in the WBC, I know that they moved me to 16, because I forget who it was. They put in at number. I forget the name, but I remember when that happened, they moved me. And then I think with the WBA, once they had me ranked at number 9, but then once the incident happened with Morel, they immediately booted me out. So I'm like, okay, well, I mean, they thought I was worthy enough to be ranked then, so obviously they know my quality, they know where I'm at. So I don't know what's going on with the WBC. I know that it was because of Demetrius Andrade. So Demetrius
I got you.
Andrade was all of a sudden like introduced into the rankings, and then somehow they felt that, okay, well, who can we easily replace him with? And a lot of these rankings is also about representation. A lot of representation at these the council meetings, or these
Yeah, you got to
federation
show up. You
meetings.
got to show up.
Yes. So if you don't show up, more than likely, and I haven't really, I haven't had it's a luxury, it's a privilege, and I haven't had that luxury of having somebody rep me there. So that's been a part of the problem. And a lot of these things are money. Boxing is you have to invest a lot to get a lot. And unfortunately, I'm not at that point where I'm able to take these trips and do these things on my own. So I have to like, find another way to fight. And of
I
course,
feel you.
getting a chance to talk on your platform is a great way to start. So thank you for the opportunity to speak on your platform.
No, no, no. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So are you such in a rush because you're 31 years old? We know that boxing, you can't do this forever, and you're in your 30s, and you're relatively unknown. I think you only had one or two fights on television. Is there some kind of like rush, like, come on, get me Caleb, get me Morel, get me Berlanga, because I kind of need to hurry up and get to the top quick.
I mean, absolutely. I've been in the game for so long, and all of the guys who turned pro in the year that I turned pro have either gone on to accomplish what they'll accomplish and retired, or didn't accomplish anything and retired. All the guys who are now like making the big names, the the Tanks and the Tefimos, those all of them turned pro like in 2016, like 5+ years after I turned pro. And, they've all gotten to where they need to get to. I know my quality and I know that, I belong on that stage. But I'm like, at this point, there's no point in, fighting on any club shows, any like, small events here and there to try to build myself up. No, I'm at the point where it's now or never. And that's how I feel. Yes, there's definitely a sense of urgency, and I take care of myself really well. I know that I can fight well into my 40s, like well, oh, at least till I'm 40, like Floyd did. But also, there's a lot of talent that is not being explored, that is wasting away because they're not giving me the opportunity now. Maybe they want me to get old. You understand? And
Mhm.
well, another thing that people need to understand is boxing is a business, and it's not just a business in the sense of how people think of boxing as a whole, but every single fighter is a business. And unfortunately, it's one of those things where my business does better if your business fails. You understand? So
I
it's like no
understand
one's
perfectly
no
what you're saying.
no one is trying to do me any favors. I have to fight and claw and earn it. And this is a part of me fighting and clawing. Otherwise, I'm never gonna get a chance. I'm always gonna be in the shadows, and people are always gonna talk about what could have been.
Mhm.
And honestly, like I've been asking for the opportunities now for a long time since that first loss in Boxino, and I've been showing up, but still, people that at least you think that by this time they'd go like, okay, well, this guy's talking, let's shut him up, let's give him a chance. But nobody wants to shut me up. I'm like,
Man.
shut me up, show me that you can shut me up. And that's all I want, but nobody wants to do it because nobody wants to take a chance with their business against mine.
Okay. Are you familiar with Shannon Briggs? You know who Shannon Briggs is?
Oh yeah, of course.
You,
Let's
you,
go.
you remember when he was running up on Vladimir Klitschko and
Yes,
doing?
yes.
I don't know. Maybe you got to take a page out of his book.
No, exactly, exactly.
He
All
ended
that,
up
like
not getting
again,
the fight. He ended up not getting the fight. So maybe it won't work. But
it's
it's
that's what I
something
was
that
gonna say
definitely got
next.
a
That
lot
it
of
didn't
people's attention.
happen.
Huh?
I mean, the thing is that the boxing market is a lot different from how it used to be. In the '90s, early 2000s. You can't just get a fight because the people are demanding that you hound the opponent. It's more of a business, the marketing strategy, and unfortunately, nowadays, if somebody doesn't want to fight you, they'll find an angle to pursue it on. So this is one way. Hopefully, Morrell answers it. Morrell doesn't answer. I don't care. Just give me any other person. Just put it on TV and let's go.
I got you. I got you. All right. Well, thank you so much for the interview, Senna. I definitely like your confidence.
Thank you.
I like how aware you are of who you are in boxing. You have a very realistic view as to who you are.
Thank
Some
you.
people
Yeah.
they go, "Hey man, I want to fight Canelo tomorrow. I want the winner, Charlo Canelo." It's like yeah, it doesn't work like that, buddy. And
Yes. Yes.
you're very realistic, and you're calling out, the guy Morrell who nobody's calling out. So
Hmm.
I definitely appreciate how do I say the self awareness, the honesty, and the desire and passion to become great, the desire and passion to pursue your dreams. So I definitely admire that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Joel. I really appreciate that.
Oh, one last question before I go. Actually, I'm seeing here it says you were drafted to the Ghanaian national amateur boxing team and was to fight in the World Youth Championship in Azerbaijan in April of 2020, but was forced to withdraw due to illness. What was the illness?
So it was more of a cold. It was a really bad cold. That was my first time being outside of my temperate climate. It's crazy when we flew into Azerbaijan. I was in the airport and then everything felt normal. And then as soon as we walked out into the city, I was like, whoa, the whole world is air conditioned. Like it was cold. I'd never been in an environment that was just naturally cold. So I was like, whoa. So like I think my body just couldn't handle that. And then I got really sick. And then it was just hard to recover from that during the time that I was there. So I wasn't able to compete in the World Youth Championships in Azerbaijan at the time. So once I came back to Ghana, At that point, it was just just trying to qualify for the Olympics. I tried to earn the right, but like I said, the politics. The guy who I beat to earn the right, he had already fought many times internationally, and the coach felt like I was still very young. He wanted me to wait till 2016, and he said that they felt like they had a better chance with him. And I understand that on some level, but I also felt like, I beat this guy in the trials. So hey, why don't I go to the qualifiers for Ghana? So once they made that decision, I was like, I'm not gonna wait till 2016. I'm just gonna go pro. Looking back, I probably should have done that. but all's well that ends well, and I'm okay. I can live with that decision, and I'm just trying to be the best that I can be now. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for the interview. Would you like to shout out your social media, or where people can follow you, how they can support you, and what anything what's next to come?
Absolutely. So my Instagram handle is assassination. Like, assassination. I'm the African assassin. So the assassination is like a broad fan base. So assassination, ASSASSI_nation. And then, of course, on Facebook and Twitter is just my full name, Sena Agbeko. So, people can follow me on there, follow my journey. They can see that I work very hard. That's part of what intimidates all these guys. I don't only look the part, I can actually fight. I've been in, world title camps. I've sparred Badu Jack. And all these guys ahead of me. I've sparred Badu Jack. I've sparred Bitebia, that people don't want to spar.
Oh,
I sparred a lot of great names in boxing, and and Bitevia, he paid me a huge compliment. That guy is an absolute monster. He hits like a truck. You know what he told me? He's like, you're very hard to hit. You hardly ever get hit cleanly, and that's very good because you last long in the sport. That's what Bitevia told me. So you understand that there's a reason why a lot of these cats are avoiding me, and I just want the platform to showcase my skills, to show my grit, my tenacity, and then if it is to be, it is to be. If it's not, it's not. But I at least I don't want to say that. I don't want to be the guy that people talk about and go like, hey man, that guy, man, if only give me a chance, and either I fail or I rise. you know yeah.
all right. Well,
Yes,
God,
sir.
God willing, this interview will get to the right people, and the fight can happen.
Yes, sir.
Let's hope you get one of those fights, whether it be plant or. I'll be honest, the plant one is a little bit unrealistic. I
Well,
feel like
no, it wasn't so unrealistic a few years ago,
no,
but
I'm talking about now. I'm
he
talking about now. I'm talking about
yeah,
now.
he went on and won the championship, and then he fought Canelo. So now his all of a sudden his name is in the big leagues. But I tell you, if I meet Plant face to face, right? I'm not saying that like I'm not talking about confrontation, but man to man, man to man, he knows who I am, right? And he gives me my respect because the last time we sparred in Nashville before he went to Las Vegas, when we got out the ring, that man thanked me for taking it easy on him. He said he told me, and he knows the things that have gone on between us, the things we have said to each other. And yes, he's in a better position now. I understand, but man to man, in his heart, he knows what's up when it comes to me and him. And
Ooh,
everybody else that was around knows. And yes, the media may have built an image around him, but man to man, lock me up, me and him in a room, and his true feelings will come out because he knows who I am as a man myself. And I say
okay.
that with a lot of conviction. Yes.
You do. I mean, hey, that's a very strong statement, and I'm sure this will get to him somehow, some way.
I wanted to get to him. There's a lot of things that have gotten to him that he hasn't said a word about. There are a lot of things that have gotten to him that he just stayed quiet. And whether that's him or that's his management, it's fine. They're just always hoping that I die away, like not literally die, but like, I just go away quietly. But I'm
Yeah.
still here. I'm still here. So, eventually you're gonna have to address it. It's as simple
Okay.
as that. Yeah.
All right. Well, all right, Sana. Thank you so much, and you're more than welcome to come back on the show anytime. All right.
Absolutely, Joel. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Really, really appreciate it.
No, no, no. Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Follow me on Instagram, Broadway Joel. Follow me on Twitter, Broadway Joel. And if you want a Dominican boxing shirt, go to BroadwayJoel.com. All right, guys. Until next time. Peace.
Peace. All right.